Just a little over an hour to go until the president's first State of the Union address. The crisis in Ukraine, obviously, it's going to be the biggest part of the speech, but the president also has a growing list of urgent issues at home, including but not limited to inflation, the economy, immigration, crime, and the pandemic. Fed up Americans are demanding answers. I'm banging on the table. That's how serious it is. So what domestic topics will Biden discuss tonight? And perhaps more importantly, what should he try to ignore? The party panel is back. Jason Meister, Kevin Walling, and Hannah Cox. Hannah, I will start with you. The president has said that he needs to open up the supply chains and get products moving back into the United States and stop the logjam. And how is he planning on doing that? And how will it not work? And is that enough, Hannah?
Well, it sounds like what he's going to do is basically go off about the economy, go off about inflation, and then suggest a whole bunch of things that would actually keep compounding the problem, make it worse. And many of these things are things that have already been going wrong. He wants to continue to entrench unions in this country. Unions are one of the biggest problems with the supply chain. That's one reason that we had ports that weren't operating 24/7. That's one reason that we have not been able to get the labor force that we need. So as a whole, I don't think he has a plan whatsoever. We also have seen him say he's going to address antitrust. Antitrust is merely just the government picking winners and losers. It's not something that's going to bring the price of anything down. It's not something that actually promotes competition. It's just more cronyism from the government. And I'm really kind of tired of these people that continue to perpetrate these things against the American people. I think that as a whole, our citizens are wise enough to know that Biden's agenda has not benefited them thus far. And all he's going to do tonight, as far as I can tell with his domestic agenda, is continue to entrench himself and dig his heels in and push for things like Build Back Better and massive spending and protecting special interests as a whole. This is going to continue to hurt us, and I just don't have a whole lot of hope for where we're going.
The spending is really going to hurt us, Kevin. I mean, that inflation is not going to go away. Inflation is exacerbating that. And I don't think the president is going to use the words Build Back Better. I don't think he's going to say it because it will be a reminder of the stalemate in Congress and the fact that he's not even trying to work with Republicans on legislation. Do you think he'll say Build Back Better, Kevin?
I think he's going to touch on aspects of Build Back Better, and I think he may mention that in the speech. But in conversations I've had with administration folks in the previews of the speech that I've seen, he will talk about inflation. He will talk about the rising costs that Americans are facing. But he's also going to talk about things that he thinks that he can get done with Republicans as part of this so-called unity agenda, tackling the opioid crisis. Kenny, you and I have talked about the mental health crisis facing our children, so providing more resources for schools and guidance counselors and mental health resources.
The schools have $200 billion. If they're not spending it right, then screw
Kennedy,
them. They have the resources. If they're blowing that money, they don't deserve it. They don't need more money.
Kennedy, it's not just money resources that we're talking about. We're talking about personnel. So we're talking. It's not just. No, we're talking about health professionals.
Hire people. That's what we use the money for. But they're not going to do that. They're going to build like tennis courts and stupid dog crap. Sorry to use such salty language, Kevin. I know that it hurts your ears.
You are still my favorite, Kennedy. But we're also talking about using those resources already allocated to find those mental health professionals, train them, teach them, and get them directly involved with the health and well-being of our children. So the money is there. We just need to redirect it and repurpose it and refocus these school districts on our children that have suffered, as you've shined a light on these last 2 years, so mightily from not being in the classroom, from wearing the mask, from not having those critical personal connections in the community. So that's going to be a key focus.
I want to bring Jason in quickly. Jason, we've only got 30 seconds. Will he touch on immigration?
He will touch on immigration. I mean, we've had over 2 million illegal, unvetted immigrants that have crossed the southern border and have caused a humanitarian crisis of biblical proportions. But we also have inflation that's at a 40-year high, a 6.5% annualized rate that's climbing. We have supply chain disruptions like we've never seen before. So there are empty grocery stores across this country that are empty. So there's a lot of issues here domestically and abroad. We have this defeat in Afghanistan, which left $85 billion in the hands of terrorists, a $1 billion embassy.
That Ukraine wipes Afghanistan completely out of the conversation. Unfortunately, we are out of time with our conversation, but it was great talking to all of you. Jason, Kevin, and Hannah, have a beautiful night, and thank you for being here. And the topical storm is next.